you always think your parents are superheroes, especially your mum.
Yeah.
And I did not like my mum at that period in time. And I think it's not until you think you're going to lose them.
Sharon Gaffka is an award-winning activist and one of the most recognisable advocates against violence towards women.
If I decided not to have an abortion, I would be blamed for being a single mum. And if I had an abortion, I'm going to be blamed.
I read a statistic. 1 in 3 women will get an abortion in their lifetime. In this episode, we'll talk about her experiences of being physically violated and advocating for truth and justice.
I had some horrific messages. I had someone send me because I had an abortion.
Oh my God. Before we get into the conversation with Sharon, if you could do us a huge, huge favour and click the subscribe button just down there, or if you're listening, leave a 5-star review. It means that we can come back for a season 2 with incredible guests helping you live a happier, healthier life. Thank you very much. Sharon, what was life like before Love Island, politics, advocating for women? Take us back to what was life like growing up?
Life, do you know what? I had a very privileged upbringing. Like, there's no way of me talking about my upbringing without saying that, because, you know, I had a middle class upbringing. I went to a nice school in a nice area. My parents were happily married. It was me and my younger brother. I guess inside that, everyone has things that they don't necessarily like. For me, I experiencing a lot of racism growing up. I think that I'm mixed race, so my mum's Asian, my dad's Polish, British, but I was probably one of very few ethnic minority people in my primary school. So I only now know it as racist comments because I'm older. But at the time, I just thought maybe people didn't like me for whatever reason. I wasn't necessarily the most popular person. I had friends, but I didn't feel like I had the closest friends, or I felt like, you know, if there's a third, there's always that one person that's slightly on the outside. That was probably me. But it will probably be no surprise to people that I was very competitive, played a lot of sport, played badminton, I played football, I did like track, netball, I did dance, even though I can't dance. I don't know why I decided to do that. I, believe it or not, was a big rebel in school, was always being told off. I really rebelled against being told what to do, which probably isn't surprising to people, but I hated school. I didn't feel like exams suited me. I didn't feel like I was getting the support I needed. And now people have conversations with me all the time about ADHD, amongst other things that probably weren't spoken about as much for young women when I was in school. And I was always just deemed as a naughty child. And actually, I just wanted to be listened to. And then at 14, my mum was diagnosed with bowel cancer. So, yeah, very up and down childhood, I think.
I also saw that you engaged in what some may consider quite a controversial hobby when you were a child. Pageants. Could you tell me a little bit about them and how they've made you the person you are today?
Yeah, do you know what, actually? I can't believe I completely glazed over that part of my life, considering it was a big part of my life. I don't really know how it came about. I think I did perform in a musical in my local theatre, so like Oxford, I can't remember what the theatre's called. When I was a child, I was scouted in infant school. So I think that some part of me when I was like 12 wanted to consider some kind of stage career or career in front of the camera, which is ironic how things come around. But so I think I was looking for different opportunities. Beauty pageants came up. My dad, very conservative, was like, no, never. So I kind of let it slide, had to turn down the place that I was scouted for. And then it came back around when I was probably, oh my God, how old was I in 2013, 2012? I don't know. But around about then, it came back around. And my dad said to me, I will drive you and take you there, because it was at the other end of the country, but I will not fund it. So I had to do like my paper round. I was doing a bake sale in secondary school. To get the entry fee, I think it was £300 to enter, which is a lot of money for a 13, 14-year-old girl. A lot of people did take the mick out of me for it. You know, putting your head above the parapet and being different always attracts attention, sometimes not good. So I know that there were lots of people in my school that were talking about me behind my back because of it. They thought that I was better than everyone, or I thought that I was prettier than I was, or whatever. I think for me, it probably goes back to always being the outside friend. Because I'd already had all these hobbies. What else could I do to potentially make new friends or gain a little bit more confidence or do something different? And I was always a bit of a person, I would try anything at least once. So I went, I enjoyed it. I loved it. I met so many people. It was a weird time as well, because at that moment in time, majority of the people that entered were actually from like the Merseyside area. So it was more people in the northwest, northeast that were entering rather than down south. So I probably was the only southern girl for a long period of time. But I made a lot of friends. And even though I didn't place, I didn't do particularly well. And in comparison to the girls that won those competitions, they were miles ahead. But I wouldn't be the person I am now without doing it. And I know that it's a controversial hobby because toddlers and tiaras, I do think it was probably be a bit inappropriate for me to be on stage in a swimsuit at that age. So if I had a daughter, I probably wouldn't allow her to do a pageant with a swimsuit until she was 18 if she wanted to do that. But all of my friends now, all of my best friends, I met through doing pageants. My ability to sit in front of you and talk, my ability to sit in my podcast with myself and interview, all of that has come from pageants. So people might deem it controversial because of the stage aspect. There are so many other aspects behind the scenes before getting to the stage that have contributed to the final product of as me as an almost 30-year-old woman. I was fundraising for Macmillan. You know, when people were potentially underage drinking, I was at charity events, I was volunteering, I was abseiling down the local hospital. So when it came to doing university applications, I had things to write about coming out of my ears that I actually had a meltdown because I didn't know what to include and what not to. Which I think is like an amazing position to be in at 16, 17. So I think without people actually sitting there speaking to people or actually experiencing and watching the growth for themselves, I don't think that their opinion holds merit necessarily.
I think it's interesting because like for young boys growing up, you have so many options for team activities and team sports. For young women, I mean, I don't know about you, but I didn't have many like team activities available to me as a girl. And I think that it seems like on the surface, yes, people can perceive it as superficial and focused on how people look. But at its core, it's an excuse to get people together and have a sense of community.
I think so. I mean, I played football growing up and I didn't feel like football was taken seriously for girls at that age.
Yeah.
It was a bit more of a laugh, and like the teams we weren't even given like proper kits or proper access to like football pitches behind the men. So it definitely felt like that to me. For as far as I can remember, any quality that I liked about myself or anything that I thought I was good at, I was just told to keep it in a tiny little neat box and not be loud and proud about it. My whole life, that was the only place that it was deemed acceptable to be loud and proud of who I am, what I achieved, and what I want to go on and do. And I still see that. We have come a little bit of a way since I was in my early days, but when I judge a teen pageant, I'm not sitting in a room having 40, 50 young teenagers walk through the door and sit in the seat in front of me and say, you know, they want world peace. I remember a girl sitting in front of me saying she wants to be a neurosurgeon. Wow. And she was like, you know, both my parents are doctors. I've seen how much they help people. This is what I want to do growing up. I'm not sitting in front of toddlers and tiara type teenagers.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that we should be more open about and acknowledging about, that, like you said, it's a community, but it's filling a gap in society and filling a gap in women.
Yeah. And I also think, of course, anything that involves makeup or hair is always going to be looked down on. Yeah. When obviously you see girls who are incredible at makeup and hair and it's a bloody skill. But of course, because it's more associated with being a woman, of course it's minimised, you know?
Yeah. And I think it's a shame as well because sometimes it's minimised by other women. And I understand it. The original origins of like Miss Universe, for example, was about reading your measurements out on a stage because a company wanted to sell swimsuits. So, of course, the traditional origins of beauty pageants are not necessarily feminist, but are the origins of anything that women have originally feminist. Probably not. I think it's about whether it's evolved with time, and I would say that it has.
Yeah. Would you feel comfortable talking a little bit about your mum?
Yeah.
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 About her having cancer?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that came about when you were 14.
I think so, yeah.
And how was that for you whilst you're in school?
So my grandfather had already had skin cancer when I was in primary school, and he passed away from it. And so I already knew about cancer from a young age. I knew what the treatments were going to be like, and I knew how grueling it was going to be. So it was never a big shock to me in that sense. I think you always think your parents are superheroes.
Yeah. Oh.
I've only been here 5 minutes. No, it's fine. Especially your mum.
Yeah.
And I remember I was out in town with my friends. My mum and dad were just going to the hospital. She had felt lumps in her abdomen, and they were like mushroomy type lumps. She had blood in her stool. And because my mum, her third language, I think, is English, I was always a little bit of a translator. I spent my whole younger years being the translator, the admin person for my mum. So she would talk to me about a lot of things that other parents may not talk to their children about. And I remember the GP telling her that she was probably constipated and just giving her sachets of strong fibre to make her go to the toilet. And I remember her being in bed for days in agony before she got a diagnosis. But when she was diagnosed, I was in town with my friends doing whatever we were doing. My dad called me to come home and told me that my mum had been diagnosed. Now, I was probably quite, again, being a gobby teenager was beneficial in that sense, because my dad, rightly or wrongly, said, the doctors, they've been trained for a long period of time. They know what they're talking about. You should just listen to the doctors. And I was watching my mum in bed because my dad would be at work, and I'd be like, no, something else is definitely wrong. So it was kind of down to me to ring the GP and say, I'm not taking this an answer. You need to refer her for a scan, or I don't know what doctors do at this point. So eventually being a gobby teenager paid off, and she was referred. I remember lots of rounds of chemotherapy. She had a stoma at one point, and the stoma was reversed. But I was doing the weekly shop.
Yeah.
It's not, to me, it's not that big of a deal. But I remember having to go to town with my mum and dad's money and get a taxi back with all the weekly shopping and stuff. But I think it was a big turning point in the relationship I had with my mum. Because I was a gobby teenager, we didn't get on.
Yeah.
I did not like my mum at that period in time. And I think it's not until you think you're going to lose them that changes.
Yeah.
And my mum is my best friend. So it worked out.
Yeah.
She's fine. She's been all clear for a long period of time. So we were very, very lucky. But obviously when you heard about Deborah Balbabe talk about her symptoms and stuff, it's just crazy how people still don't take very obvious symptoms like that as seriously as they should, especially the GP that told my mum she was just constipated.
It's just such a sad state of affairs how many people have a story of not being taken seriously.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to put that blame all on doctors. I've experienced dismissive doctors. I'm not going to... How many people have the same story of having to really, really, really push to be taken seriously? And I think that when you're unwell, you don't have that energy to push, and having actually someone who is able to advocate in your corner is so important. But not every mum has a Sharon, to fight their corner. But I literally got goosebumps when you were saying that you had to translate, because I had a patient who their first language was not English, and they were from a country that is being quite significantly demonised by certain political parties at the moment. And they were the most incredible family. This family was round their bedside almost 24/7. They had made this patient flashcards that said in their language, I'm in pain.
Yeah.
Please can I have some painkillers? I'm short of breath, just a stack of them, so that she could communicate with staff when they weren't there. And one of the relatives was young. And I remember feeling like, this is a lot for you to be communicating. We're asking quite serious questions to your loved one, and you're having to communicate these answers. It's a lot to expect from someone who should just have permission to be a relative at that point, not a translator.
Yeah, because I think that, obviously my mum was the person that had cancer. My mum was the person that had to physically go through chemotherapy and surgery, but it affects the whole family. And I was the eldest child. So obviously my younger brother had a bit more of a, I wouldn't say sheltered upbringing, but he was slightly more protected than I was, because culturally as well, it's always the daughter that does the unpaid labour stuff.
Eldest daughter, girl. I'm so sorry for that trauma.
So yeah, I have eldest daughter syndrome. So I think it was, and I remember my mum was going through surgery when I was doing my GCSE exams. So obviously we were on study break, study leave, whatever it was called at the time. And I remember I would get a train, then a bus every morning to be at the hospital. And I would revise for my GCSE exams at my mum's bedside. And my dad would finish work and pick me up from the hospital. So I was there practically every day. My mum, I remember exactly what my mum would eat, because my mum hated hospital food, and obviously chemotherapy impacts your taste buds and your sense of smell and things like that. So my mum would only eat Cornish pasties from a certain place. She would only eat strawberries and extra hot Nando's chicken wings. Obviously, none of which is on an NHS hospital menu.
Yeah.
So I had to come to the hospital armed with any of these three things, otherwise my mum wouldn't eat. So, and to be fair, in her defence, I thought she was being a bit dramatic until I tried it and was like, okay, fair enough. Yeah, it was not great. But it did make me a little bit distrustful of the health service, because I don't know if my mum was not given early intervention or help because she was a woman, or because she was a woman of colour, or if because it was the system that they just, they had so many targets they could or couldn't meet.
That's a huge amount of responsibility to have at a young age. Fast forward a little bit, you get your GCSEs, you go to uni, and then is it 2020 you get spiked?
Yeah, so I actually didn't go to university.
Oh, okay.
I decided to do an apprenticeship because I didn't want to be too far away from home. So I joined the civil service at 18.
Fab.
Went from being small town girly to big Westminster girly at 18. Very scary. 2020, I was living in London with my big corporate girly job, my nice flat. Like, I had a partner at the time. We had cats. Like, I had everything that society tells you you're supposed to grow up and have. Obviously, COVID hits. Lockdown sucks for everyone. I was working in the Department of Health at the time, so I felt like it particularly sucked.
God.
The first day that we had any kind of freedom, everyone was scrambling for places at restaurants, bars, wherever you could physically get into. People were trying, and we somehow were very lucky to get a table in a restaurant so we could have belated birthdays forever, extended period of time, any birthday that we'd missed. I was excited. Everyone was excited. We were really happy. I was happy to be out. I was on time for the first time in my life for something. So that was a big shock. But, everything about the day was completely normal. The food order was normal. The drinks were normal. I didn't over-consume alcohol. I know what my limits are. I turned around to my best friend at the time and I said, I feel extremely unwell.
Yeah.
Something doesn't feel right. Now, I do have a peanut allergy. So maybe she was like, has she eaten something? But what I'd eaten was nothing different to what I'd had before. So everything was fine. She's also a medical professional and she knows my medical history back to front. So she would know. Anyway, we went upstairs to go to the bathroom. We go into completely separate cubicles. She'd obviously come out and was waiting for me. But obviously, busy bathroom, you don't really want to be around people.
Yeah.
So she goes back to the table, absolutely fine. 10 minutes later has passed and I'm still not back. So she's gone upstairs to check. The cubicle I've gone into, everyone's left the bathroom, but the cubicle I went into is still locked.
Okay.
She knocks on the door, no response. She gets the other girls from the table. They've come up. They're all banging on the door, no response.
Yeah.
I think my friend said they used a coin to pick the lock, and I was found unconscious, wedged between the toilet and the door. I had my trousers down because I'd obviously tried to go to the bathroom. My bodysuit was undone. I'd banged my head. I was sick.
God.
I think, urine, because you lose all control of body extremities or whatever it's called. Completely unconscious, was not responding to anything. Eyes rolling to the back of my head, very shallow breath. So naturally they call 999. 2 male paramedics arrived to the restaurant. They'd managed to dress me. My friend did make a joke. She was like, if it makes you feel better, it was very hard to get your jeans over your bum. So at least there's like a highlight there. And I was like, great, thank you.
Wonderful.
But they were like, we're trying to get her dressed because obviously they're going to have to take her outside and people are going to see. They were very dismissive, these paramedics. They basically took one look at me and said, she's young, therefore she's drunk, needs to go home and sleep it off. And it wasn't until my friend who works in a medical field said, I know her medical history. I know her, like everything about her. I know what her alcohol limit is and what she looks like when she's had a lot to drink. This is not it.
Yeah.
I refuse to take her home. She has to go to the hospital. I don't know how long I've been unconscious for at this point. By the time I'm at the hospital, still don't know how long I've been unconscious for. And when I come round, a junior doctor is trying to fit, is it a cannula? Like another drip to me.
Yeah.
In this arm. Now, this arm has got quite prominent veins. This is my blood donation arm.
Yeah.
Could not get anything out of me. So my veins had, for whatever reason, were no longer visible. When I look at the ceiling on this side, I've got 2 more drips in this arm. And I've got a cannula in my hand as well. So they were obviously either testing or giving me a lot of stuff. To this day, don't know what you tested me for. Don't know what you gave me. I don't know how long I was in there for. I don't know who saw me. I don't know who I saw. I only know the name of the hospital and that is it.
God.
And I only remember being discharged and not being able to remember the hospital because medical staff were constantly asking me, and coming out to the reception area because I was by myself because of COVID, and seeing one of my friends being absolutely fuming that no one had told her what had happened to me. And she had my coat in my bag because I had no personal belongings and no one there with me.
God.
So yeah, to this day, apart from between saying I felt unwell and waking up in hospital, I have no memory. There is nothing there.
That must be very scary.
Yeah, it was definitely really scary. I think it took me a while to deep what had happened and to understand what had happened, because I was very, I don't know if high is the right word, but I was just quite clearly not very there for a long period of time. And one of my friends said, I refuse to let you stay the night on your own. Like, I'm coming to stay. I'll stay in your spare room and we'll have a conversation in the morning. I was still very out of it in the morning.
Yeah.
Still very unwell.
Yeah.
And I was probably unwell and anxious for like the rest of the week.
Yeah.
Until I had to go back into the office for work. Like, they would not let me work from home because of the job I had at the moment in time. So I had to go back into the office. Otherwise I probably wouldn't have left the flat at all.
God. It just would have been nice to have had, at least on your discharge letter, just like a bit more detail of what.
I don't have a discharge letter.
Oh my God.
My GP was never sent anything.
Really?
Yeah.
God.
So like, nobody knows. The
Oh my
only
God.
person that probably knew was who was on shift at the time at the hospital.
Yeah.
And I did ring up the hospital and said, I think I was spiked. What did you test me for? What happened to me? I was actually at the Department of Health in the office when I had made this phone call. I remember standing in the stairwell sobbing, saying, I've been spiked and you're telling me that you don't know what happened to me and what you tested me for and what you did with me when I was unconscious in your hospital.
Yeah.
And they were just like, oh yeah. They were like, if you thought you'd been spiked, you should have phoned the police. And that's literally what she said. If you thought you'd been spiked, you should have phoned the police. And I said, well, I was unconscious and I couldn't even tell you my name. How am I supposed to tell you I want a police officer?
Yeah. That's, I didn't even think about the fact you were working for the Department of Health at that time. It's really interesting you did an apprenticeship, because I've got a friend, my best friend from home, she did an apprenticeship instead of going to uni. And she said it was the best decision she ever made. She absolutely loves it, advocates for it so much. So I'd love to know first of all, what made you do an apprenticeship? And second of all, what made you go to Westminster?
So my dad actually did an apprenticeship. My dad didn't go to university, but my dad was an engineer. So STEM subjects felt a bit more accessible in terms of an apprenticeship. I was always political. Obviously, my dad's British Polish. My grandfather came to the UK escaping Nazi-occupied Poland. My mum is from Indonesia, and in Indonesia they have a very interesting journey with democracy and the right to vote and police brutality. And these were all things that I'd learned just having conversations when I was younger. So, and also going home to Indonesia quite a lot as a child and seeing extreme poverty, extreme deprivation, there are lots of people in Indonesia that don't even have a birth certificate, which limits their access to education, limits their access to healthcare. So naturally, that's going to make somebody political. I actually wanted to be an MEP. Brexit very quickly derailed those options for me.
Yeah.
Which it's fine. I've eventually got over it. But so I always knew that something political was what I wanted to do. I just didn't know what, because a lot of people that go into those types of careers have parents that have already, or family friends, or go to Eton or Oxbridge. And I have none of those things. I actually spoke to a career advisor saying, this is what I want to do. Like, government politics was my best A-level. I loved it. I loved my teachers. What can I do? Without going to university, because I was having a meltdown. I was adamant I was going to fail everything and that I was going to be a complete failure of my life. And I didn't want to be too far away from my mum because the universities I looked at were too far.
Yeah.
And my careers advisor basically said, well, there aren't any options. You either go to university or, you're going to have to be a bit more realistic about what you can achieve, which is a really terrible careers advice. And being a stubborn, gobby teenager, I was like, I'm not going to take that as an answer. I'm going to go find my own. So that day I went home and I just Googled apprenticeships, and it was the first thing that came up. Now, my apprenticeship in that particular year was just as, if you talk about applications per place, was more competitive than Oxbridge. There were 500 places, 7,500 applicants.
Wow.
And because of all my beauty pageant external extracurricular activities, I absolutely smashed that interview and was offered one of those places. So I left co-op to go and work at Westminster. And also, why would you turn, I think I was on £25,000 a year at 18. Why would you turn that down?
When all your friends are getting themselves into debt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what my dad was trying to tell me. But obviously, as an 18-year-old that wants to make friends and go out and socialise, and you're watching your friends go travelling and you're sitting in this really dingy office. I was at MOJ at the time, really dingy Ministry of Justice office. You're like, what am I doing with my life? But now I'm older and I look back at it, it was the best decision I've ever made. And I try and get my previous secondary school to do more on it because obviously the way that schools are graded is by how many people go on to university, which isn't an indicator of success at life. And also there were so many negative connotations about apprenticeships, like it was for people that were stupid, that only physical labour jobs were apprenticeships. That's not true. You can get legal apprenticeships now. And we know how competitive the legal field is. So yeah, I'm a massive advocate for them.
And I think uni isn't for everybody. And I especially think if you have something like ADHD, like I have ADHD and I absolutely bombed my A-levels and had to really sort myself out to get the grades that I needed. And actually medical school was probably the best thing for me because it was so structured. I had really rigorous routine, but it was routine that was really varied. So it just worked really well for me. My brother also has ADHD and he did a normal degree. And it was so tough for him. Yeah. Because you have that flexibility and it's like asking a fish to walk, you know? Yeah. If you put someone in uni who isn't suited to uni and they fail, that's then their self-belief of what they think that they can achieve. Yeah. Whereas you put them in a different environment and they thrive. So I think it's a conversation we're really not having enough. Yeah. And then how did you end up at the Ministry of Health?
So I had a very weird, varied career there. So I did like a couple of years in legal aid. I went and worked for the Justice Secretary at the time. I did actually mention it in one of my pre-Love Island interviews, and I think he got asked about it during a really serious news interview, which was really awkward.
Oh my gosh.
Poor him, sorry. Then Brexit came along. Ministry of Justice is one of those departments that's really not that impacted because court systems are very managed internally. There's not that many links to European legislation. Then I went into working in food, which is all Brexit related. So yeah, I worked in Brexit for ages, and obviously because you would start stopping Brexit, projects would start stopping, and then my project closed down, and then I get a phone call being like, right, well, time to work in the Department of Health now. So one Monday when COVID started kicking off, I just rocked up and there I was.
Oh my gosh.
So it wasn't like I planned to go there. I actually wanted to work in the Department for Education because I felt like, apprenticeships, I want to do something with education and careers advisors. Even then, I could see how we were failing different groups of people because the people that were working there, I mean, there's nothing wrong with them. They're intelligent people, but majority of the people I saw were white, middle-aged men. So what do you know about, because we worked in test and trace.
Yeah.
What do you know about getting certain demographics of society to test places, or, how to get messaging out there? And it's not a one size fits all.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was very stressful. I don't know how long I was there, but it's one big blur.
Yeah, I'd imagine, God, during COVID as well. But it's interesting you say about the whole white posh man thing, because I don't know if this is me trying to see the best in people, but I firmly believe that I don't think these people set out to not recognise that there's other groups of people. I think my world is, I don't know, like a white young female from North Wales, and I view everything through that lens. Yeah. And I'm a firm believer that those people, they don't do it maliciously, exclude, but you can't envision a world outside of what you've experienced. And that is why diversity is just so important. You can't replicate the power of having a diverse workforce purely because they bring those conversations in. They say, well, what are we doing for people who maybe English isn't their first language? What are we doing for people who don't have access to Wi-Fi because they're in poverty? Or how are we making test and trace work for them,
Yeah, I think I mentioned that in a meeting, and people just looked at me and were like, yeah, we should probably go and think about that. But then it's that's why it frustrates me so much now when you see certain political parties talking about how terrible DEI is. I didn't get the job because I'm a mixed race woman. I got the job because I'm qualified. You asked me to be here in that particular project. I'm obviously qualified. I just happen to be a mixed race bisexual woman. Yeah. That didn't go to university. And therefore, like you said, I view things in a different lens. I have different lived experience. And when you are building policies that literally impact every single person's life, from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to sleep, why should it not be viewed in their lens as well? Why should it not benefit them? And DEI is not just about the fact that I'm mixed race or a woman. Yeah. DEI could be about the fact that my boyfriend's from a working class background. And that's important too, but they don't want to factor that in. He is a white man, but he looks at things from a working class perspective. Yeah. And, I will never be able to view things his way. He'll never be able to view things my way. But then there could be a way to meet in the middle. And that is a good thing. DEI is a good thing, but they're pushing it as if these people that are in there are not qualified. They just got there because of their race, which is not true.
Yeah. And for anyone listening who doesn't know what DEI, diversity, equality and inclusion. Personally, I don't know how you did it, because I think I would go into work every single day and want to scream into
cried.
Nice.
Quite a lot, yeah.
Yeah. I would just feel like the sense of injustice would drive me up the walls.
Yeah.
Okay, so then how on earth do you then end up going on Love Island?
So after spending however many days of my life crying, I went back to Brexit. I couldn't believe the sentence that I miss Brexit came out of my mouth. And I met two lovely women who were, I guess, we were the same level in the projects. I went to transport, another sexy department in government. And I met these two women and they were like, you'd be great on Love Island. And I was like, you are fucking joking. I was like, there is no way in hell you would catch me doing it. I never watched it.
Yeah.
I hated it on our lunch breaks and everybody be talking about it because I feel like they left one out again. So reliving previous trauma because I didn't watch it. I guess I was probably in the side of like rubbish, like trash TV. Like, why is everyone so interested? And I get it. Like, people want to switch their brains off. That's why they watch it. So from a different lens now, like, I get it why people were interested in it. But it's so time consuming. They were like, please, like, just apply. It would be a funny story. That was always a thing. Just apply. It would be a funny story. Okay, fine. I sent the initial application. I get a link to say, submit a video. I've moved out of London at this point and I'm staying with my parents temporarily while my dad's redecorating my house. I'm in my Disney Pinocchio, I still have the video, Disney Pinocchio pajamas, in my parents' armchair, talking about how even though I work for one of the biggest employers in the country, dating is virtually impossible. Dating apps are the trenches of hell. Do us a favour and find me a nice person to be with. I thought, well, then no one's going to be really interested in that. Lots of people are going to put loads of effort in. But I think it was probably the fact that I probably looked like I didn't care so much that made them interested. I think it was also my job that made them interested and the fact that I did beauty pageants. Yeah. Because I did include that in there. And then it was just like, next interview. And I thought, like, I know people that have basically got towards the end. Eventually it's going to stop and they're going to be like, no, like, thanks for your time, but we're going to go a different direction. And it just kept going. Yeah. And I just kept laughing about it with so when you see newspaper articles that say like, the civil service had no idea, that's a lie. Okay. They all knew. Yeah. And we all spoke about it in our team meetings and just kept going and going. And I was like, oh my God, when is it actually going to stop? Yeah. And it got to the point where they say to you, there is never a guarantee that anything's going to work out until you literally walk in the villa doors. Okay. So you could go through all of the filming hoops, every single interview. You have to do like blood tests, like STI checks, drug tests, all this stuff, psychological assessments. You could go through everything. You could fly out, you could quarantine and still not be on the show. Okay. So they always preface that. Now, I loved my job. I was never that interested in going on. So I said, unless you guarantee me an OG position and I'm going in on day one, I'm not coming. Nice. And they were like, yeah, we'll see. And then we did the VT filming, which was hilarious because like there are other islanders in the building. Oh. You're not allowed to see each other. Okay. So they're all with walkie-talkies and they've all got nicknames for us and they're all fake. The Addison Lee's got a fake name for me. I have to remember what my fake name is. It was like Sydney Green or something silly, like SG. And they're all got walkie-talkies. I do always
think that. How do you film this thing when,
They drop you off at like a really bizarre pub and behind the pub is like a big filming studio. Oh, wow. So I was like, what on earth am I doing here? Yeah, it's all very hush-hush. I felt like I was in some like Mission Impossible film. It was so much fun apart from the fact that I had to stand on the back of a Jeep in a bikini with 30 crew in masks staring back at me and a confetti cannon. Nice. It's not really what I thought I would be doing with my career, but I just enjoyed it. Like it was fun to me. And then I get a phone call being like, right, sort your stuff out in 2 weeks of flying out. And I was like, oh my God, okay. Oh my God. And I had a meeting in Addison Lee on the way to the airport of being like, we spoke to the press team. You have to make sure you don't say X, Y, and Z about your job. And I was like, no one's going to want to hear me talk about Brexit anyway. Yeah. Like no one's going to care. And then, I in very Sharon style, got caught out at the airport for having overweight luggage. Nice. So it was so bait. I don't know how anyone not realised that I'm stood in the middle of London City Airport with like all of my bikinis just spread out across the floor. But yeah, that was a crazy experience. Again, they tell you in quarantine, no guarantee until you're set through the door. Then they take all my stuff from me and leave me with one bikini. And we're like, right, we'll see you tomorrow when we pick you up to take you. And like, that was that.
So they take your stuff to the villa for you? Yeah. Okay. And then, so does everyone fly out from different airports or were there contestants who were also on your flight?
I don't know if there were contestants. Okay. I was the last one to arrive. Okay. So there wouldn't have been any other on my flight, but I don't know if there were other people. I remember Faye saying to me that because of the date that she had to fly out, she had to fly from London to Paris to somewhere else in Spain, then from there to Mallorca. So she did like a full round trip of Europe. But I was the last one to fly out. I had to fly from London City, which I didn't even think flew to Mallorca. Yeah. But it was me and crew. Yeah. So lots of crew knew who I was when they were on the flight. I had no idea who they were. Oh. I only knew my chaperone. Okay. And that was it.
that relationship with the chaperone must be quite interesting. Like,
I loved her.
Nice.
I loved her.
Because you have to spend so much time with them.
I have to live with them.
Oh my
for
gosh.
2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yeah, because we had quarantine.
Oh,
so we
of
had
course.
to do the nose swabs every day. If we left our villa,
Yeah.
done. Like, because you've broken the quarantine rules.
Oh my gosh.
So it was crazy. Like, we were in very close proximity with each other, but we had very similar interests. So we were just sat there reading Laura Bates by the pool, eating ice cream. So I had a great time. Like, if you sent me home after the quarantine, I probably would have been quite happy.
Love.
I actually saw her at a festival last summer.
Nice.
I was sober. She was not. So I don't know if she remembers that interaction. But yeah, no, like, I loved her. I loved that part of the experience.
So you loved that part of the experience.
Yeah.
How was the rest of it? Because I'm someone, I like my space.
Yeah.
I like to just just be alone, pop on a nice TV series, chill out. How did you manage? I'd imagine that's incredibly intense, the whole experience.
Yeah, it's a very big sensory overload. Like, the villa is nice, but there's a lot of bright colours around, a lot of bright lights. You have no control over them. So I couldn't even sit in a dark room if I wanted to. And I went from living with me and my dog to being in a villa with 11 other people.
Yeah.
And having to share a bedroom and a bed.
Yeah.
Not with 11 people, but like the bedroom with 11 other people. So for me, it felt like it's a big invasion of your privacy, your private space, your free time, because there's no such thing as free time.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds like a big first world problem. Like, I am expenses paid on a big inclusive holiday. That's what people view it as. But that's not the case at all. Like, you get dictated to when you wake up, when you go to sleep, when you eat, when you speak to certain people sometimes. Sometimes what you wear. Like, it was a crazy experience. And yeah, I don't know if it's TMI. I had, when you fly and sometimes, your body just doesn't want to work properly.
Yeah. You constipate.
Yeah. Not even just in the 2 weeks quarantine, my whole time in the villa.
Yeah, there's a science to that. Do you know, basically, have you, if you take a crisp packet up on a flight?
Yeah, it expands.
Yeah, so imagine the air in your tummy doing the same thing.
Okay.
And then sometimes it doesn't sort of sort itself out.
5 weeks, 6 weeks? I was there for 7 weeks.
And then it's probably stress as well. Like, you probably, even if you didn't realise you were stressed, like the underlying ongoing fight or flight, poor sleep, just
terrible food as well.
Was the food bad? Oh my god.
Like, they're catering for loads of people because they're catering for the crew, but the food was not great. But I remember just being given loads of dates and tablets by the medical team and nothing was working. So for the whole time I just couldn't. And also there's no privacy in the bathrooms and you can't just sit there and just wait for things to happen. This is a big overshare.
Yeah. Do you know what? All the things I've thought about is are you mic'd up when you go for a poo?
I take my mic off.
Good. Okay. Yeah.
They say to keep it on, but even if you're turning it off.
Yeah.
It's the psychological of it being around my neck. That's a terrible poor use of language, but the psychology of it being around my neck and around my waist.
Yeah,
there's already a camera in the bathroom.
Is there?
It goes into a box, so the crew aren't seeing it, but if there's an altercation, they can view it via the camera because it's there.
Okay.
So I'm in a really small room with a camera and a mic on the other side of the door. So yeah, it's not the most private, comfortable of spaces. And also I'm a bit of a weirdo. I develop an emotional attachment to a bathroom.
Okay. Yeah. It's an emotional experience, you say there's a lot of hormones released. Yeah.
Yeah, if I worked in an office, I would always go to the same toilet and I'd be very emotionally distraught if that toilet was in use when I needed to go. So sometimes because of COVID, you weren't allowed to go to the upstairs because crew had been in there and they have to wait for germs to have been there for a certain length of time, so you couldn't catch COVID or something.
Oh my god.
So I one time got very upset that I wasn't allowed to use the upstairs bathroom in the middle of the night.
Oh no.
Yeah, so that's my weird thing. I develop emotional attachments to bathrooms.
That's nice. I think I can relate to this one. Your favourite work bathroom. I definitely had a favourite work bathroom as well that was
okay, fine. So it's not just me.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. When you realised you were going in,
yeah.
Did you at that point think, what life was going to be like afterwards? And was it then that you knew, oh, I want to use my platform for good if I come out and have a big platform?
Yeah, so during the assessment stuff, you have to put your parents down on your application or for some reason. Because my mum's English wasn't that great, I didn't want her to be questioned loads by random people, and I wasn't allowed to be there. So I put my brother down. He did all of the parental like stuff for me because I didn't want to tell my dad.
How did your dad? Yeah.
No, I had to tell my dad. They basically like, you have to tell him.
But like, backtrack. How did your dad take it when you said you were going on?
He was excavating my garden at that moment in time. He was stood on a digger and he was like over my dead body. And he was like yelling so loud. And I was like, the neighbours can hear. Like, you're going to ruin it before it even happens. Yeah. So he was like, you've worked very hard at your job. You've done very well for yourself. Why would you throw it all away? And I actually had a bit of a weird thing that I caught COVID before we knew you could survive COVID. Okay. I thought I might die.
Yeah.
Even though my symptoms weren't so bad, but you just didn't know.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, if I died then, all I would have done would have worked or like looked after someone else. So for me, this was like the girls' holiday I never had, but on steroids. And I made a promise to him that I would go back to my job. Yeah. He hasn't remembered that one, but I promised him, look, it'll be fine. It's a once in a lifetime experience. It could open some doors for me. My parents didn't watch Love Island. They didn't know anything about it, which was probably for the best. Once my dad heard that there could be opportunities for me to work in TV or whatever, he was like, fine, but don't do anything that would... My parents basically set me ground rules.
Okay, what were the ground rules?
No sex on TV.
Okay.
Which I wouldn't do anyway, because I think that...
I don't think you'd be able to... Well, I mean, I know they say that you forget that the cameras are there, but I really don't think that...
But I don't forget that the beds are next to me.
Yeah.
So you forget the cameras are there, but I don't forget the microphone and the headboard or the people next to me, especially when some of them are really loud snorers. So yeah, I couldn't do it. No sex on TV, not to do anything that would jeopardise my job. And that's probably why people thought I was really boring, because I was very reserved, like not the full personality that I am, because I didn't want to ruin the possibility of going back.
Yeah.
I can't remember what some of the other ones were. Like not to talk about family members, not to be like overly personal, which is quite hilarious now considering how overly personal I am on social media.
But it's on your terms.
Yeah.
I think there's such a difference between talking about what, like, I can't imagine how it must have felt to worry about how things might be cut and put on air. When social media is your control, you say that on how you want it to say it.
Yeah. And like, I have editorial power, right? And like, you don't in Love Island.
Yeah.
And I actually said in my pre-screening interview, it's going to go one or two ways. The public are either going to love me because of my values and what I do and who I am, or they're going to hate me for the exact same reasons. And it's all down to how I'm portrayed.
Yeah.
Now, it's easy to villainize somebody like me and make me look like the bad person because I speak my mind and I say what I think. And I did an element of that, but it was not always well received. And that's because I didn't have control of how things were viewed.
Is there anything that happened that you felt particularly you got a bad edit over?
I think we all know the one. There was one, and it still comes up now. I still get trolled for it now, which I think is comical, of like people haven't moved on after 4 years. But obviously there was a disagreement, argument, whatever people want to call it, between myself and a male islander after a number of comments were made about women's bodies and their right to choose about plastic surgery or tweakments or whatever you want to call them. Now, I know I got a bad edit because I didn't... The first time I watched it was live on Jeremy Vine. Thank you, Channel 5. I deliberately didn't want to watch it because of the level of trolling that I'd received off the back of it. But I can see why people were annoyed by it because of the way it was cut and the way it was shown. Like, it looked like I was insecure about the work I had done at the time. It made it look like I was disagreeing with a man's right to have a preference and that I was making comparisons between racism and cosmetic surgery, which, if anyone with a brain cell, as someone who is mixed race and has experienced racism at different points in my life, I would never do that or intentionally do that. And not to be like, oh, I've got a black friend. All of my best friends in my closest circle are black women. I hear their stories of race, and I think that's probably where the comment came from, because I was making connections in my brain to other comments other islanders have said. If that whole 48 hours, including every single thing that was said in that game was aired, I would not have been the one that was put on blast.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't ever want to talk about everything that everyone said, because there's no point in people getting re-trolled for things they did 4 years ago, because they're not that deep. But at that moment in time, a male islander had made a comment about liking his preference being mixed race women and using particularly derogatory terms in relation to mixed race women.
Oh, God.
To the point where Voice of God said, I would change what you said.
Obviously, really?
Obviously, there was
when you say Voice of God, is this like over the speakerphone?
Oh yeah, there's producers and rocks and stuff telling you stuff, like when to get up and.
Okay, sorry, carry on.
No, it's fine. Made a couple of not appropriate comments. Was told to change what you're going to say. Obviously, there was the aired comments about body hair.
Yeah,
and then there was the multiple comments of plastic surgery. Now, those comments that were said in that game were not the only comments that were said. There were comments made 24, 40 hours prior to me in private.
Yeah.
At this point, it's like shaking a champagne bottle when the cage is off. The cork's going to pop eventually. And at that point, I just snapped. I had enough, because I was looking at the girls around me and some of them just felt like shit.
Yeah.
How dare anyone make someone else feel like crap because they may not be what you want?
Yeah.
That's not your place.
Yeah.
We all have bugbears and issues and insecurities with our own bodies, with our own image, particularly in that setting where you don't know what you look like on camera.
Yeah.
You have no idea how everyone's viewing you. And your parents are watching you potentially crumble on live TV.
Yeah.
Well, not live, but yeah. So, yeah, I blew up.
Yeah.
And that was where the anger, had I had access to my safety net, i.e. my friends, my family, and like everything else, I probably wouldn't have said it in the tone that I said it in. I still would have called it out.
Yeah.
But people forget that I have no access to my books, no access to my music, to the outside world, to my family, my friends. It's like COVID lockdown without access to the internet.
Yeah.
And your hourly daily walk. It's a pressured environment. Everything about it. It's a social experiment.
Yeah.
You're pushed to your limit, and producers drip feed you information, whether it's true or not, about things that are happening around you. So you don't know who to trust. You don't know what reality is.
Yeah.
And therefore everything feels heightened. I cried over a biscuit. I wouldn't cry over a biscuit in real life. Like, that's just,
I don't know, depending on what part of my cycle I would cry over it, but I wouldn't want it on national television. Yeah.
People are watching it.
Yeah.
And they are judging you for it. So, you know, and also there were other things that I wanted to say to other people, but I was stopped from doing so.
Yeah.
So it just looked like I was just picking on one person. When actually, if you let me have free reign, I probably would have gone for all of them. But yeah, like, look, I took it on the chin. I understand why people are upset by it.
Yeah.
That was never my intention. So I'll always apologise for my part in upsetting people, because I'd never want to do that. But I just think that rules are ruining reality TV, i.e. like you're restricting too many people. You're trying to cast type people too much to a personality that might not be theirs. But also people are ruining reality TV because it's entertainment. Not everything you see is real.
Yeah.
Not everything we experience is real.
Yeah.
That is why there was so much stuff being offered to you in terms of mental health support when you left, because of viewers, because of people, not because of necessarily what I experienced in there. I think the hardest thing that I had to transition was learning how to sleep by myself again. But it was other people that was making it really difficult.
Yeah. So I really want to come on to the more important stuff that you've done after Love Island. What point when you came out did you decide, right, I'm going to use this platform for good?
It's hard. When you leave Love Island, people are throwing you deals left, right and centre. Now, there was probably a time in my life where I thought that I was maybe not good enough because I didn't have the same number of followers as other people. I didn't make it to the end. So am I going to be offered these big, big deals? Probably not. I mean, I was offered one pretty hefty deal, but it was just not the right thing for me. So I turned it down straight away. You don't know what to do.
Yeah.
You are relying on good management. And there are some managers out there that would just want to milk you for everything you are worth in those 12 months and then leave you high and dry. And I got very lucky. I found a manager that sat there and told me what I want to do.
Yeah.
maybe not achievable, but we're going to try. And that's what I respected. And I respected the honesty because everybody was feeding me shit. Like, you know, we're going to get you all these big deals. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, this is who I am. And after 12 months, I'll go back to my job.
Yeah.
So I was in a weird place. I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what I'm doing. At that moment in time, lots of girls, I think they were from universities in the local-ish area to me, had come out and said that they were experiencing spiking and people were being spiked.
Yeah.
I turned around to my publicist, Jen, at the time and said, I was spiked a year ago.
Yeah.
I want to stand in solidarity. I've got all of these media outlets like talking to me all the time about and like hanging on my every word. Social media is rife. People are looking for what I'm doing. What can I do to help these young women?
Yeah.
And I just did it. I just wrote a piece for Grazia. I was the first Love Islander to self-pen a post, an article in Grazia. It was published in the actual magazine. And I just didn't expect it to snowball. It was never my plan to be this big activist. It was always my plan to go back to the civil service. But it just snowballed and it was becoming one thing after the other. And I do think it was my experience of being in the civil service and then like all these other things that were part of me as in like charity work and from Pageants.
Yeah.
And all these like little things, it just made sense. And it was just building and building and building. And 4 years, I still don't know how I got here. It was never planned.
Yeah.
It looks like it is, but it was all completely by accident.
I think it's what happens when you follow what you're passionate about and you're not focused on the numbers. You're focused on just doing, I don't know, living a life that you find worth living.
This is the thing about Love Island. There are so many of us. There's like 36 per season. I don't know what season we're on now. They're bringing back All Stars. Like I had 12 months to make something of this. Otherwise you kind of just fade into the background. And some people say I have, and that's their own personal opinion. But like,
I absolutely disagree. I find like all your reels, there's so many of them that are just absolute gold, but carry on.
But like you have 12 months
Yeah.
to milk it for what it's worth and make something of yourself to the point where people now know you for something.
Yeah.
So everybody wants to be Molly May, but the reason why Molly May is because there was only one of her.
Yeah.
And you cannot replicate that because you are not her.
No.
And I know that. So why would I try and go after the same deals that she's had because we're not the same person? It won't work. And I knew that. And I think maybe that's just like from conversations I've had with my parents about what would and wouldn't work for me. But I knew that. So what is my USP? What is different about me? What got me into Love Island? It was my job. It was the fact I did beauty pageants. So why am I not making politics glamorous?
Yes.
That's what it is. Like those are my USPs. So why am I not milking that? Why am I not using that to my advantage? Molly May's USP was that she was already an influencer and she had that sense of style that was natural to her.
Making politics glamorous. God, I absolutely adore that. Before we close off, I really would love, when researching this podcast, I read a statistic I was really shocked by. I had no idea. 1 in 3 women will get an abortion in their lifetime.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think it's a really brave topic to talk about, abortion and miscarriage. Can you tell me a little bit about the work that you've been doing in those areas and what work you think is still left to be done?
I think that in terms of work that still needs to be done, I'm sick of it makes 2 to tango, it makes 2 to make a baby, a fetus, whatever you want to call it. Why is the blame consistently on women?
Yeah.
If I decided not to have an abortion, I would be blamed for being a single mum. I've seen comments even by doctors that I follow on social media about if a man says he didn't want to be a father, you shouldn't hold him responsible. I'm sorry, but you had your choice to put something on the end of it and you made a different choice. Therefore, you have to deal with the consequences, and that is a child. And if I had an abortion, I'm going to be blamed. Because why didn't I do something? Well, contraception failed. It's not 100%.
Yeah.
You're an idiot if you think it is. Contraception failed me, and I knew that whatever happened, I would have to deal with the consequences. And I had some horrific messages.
Yeah.
I had someone call me Lucy Letby 2.0.
Oh my God.
I had someone send me a case for a woman who was brutally murdered by her former partner in America and said, you deserve this treatment. I had people threaten to dox me, all because I had an abortion. And I know I'm not the only one, and I know I'll never be the last woman to have one. And
1 in 3 women will get an abortion in their lifetime. This isn't some niche thing that is going on, and it's always gone on. Before it was legal, it's gone on unsafely behind back doors.
This is the thing, like, regardless of whether it was the right decision or not, and it was 100% the right decision, I don't regret it at all, it is still the hardest decision I've ever had to make. And I had to live with the emotional trauma of going through something so physical. So when people sit there and say, you took the easy way out, trust me, it was not easy at all. And any woman that's ever had one, or any person that's ever had an abortion, whether you are the person that is taking on the physical role or not, it is awful. And I would never wish that on my worst enemy. It's the same with spiking. I'm consistently blamed for it. What is it that I did wrong? What is it that I could have done better? And I'm sick of women being blamed for things that when they are just surviving.
Yeah.
That is what it is. You're making a decision to survive. With the cost of living crisis, some people can't even afford to put food on their own table. How are you going to do that for a child? And when people sit there and say, I'm pro-life, okay, well, what about all the children in the care system? What about all the children that are going to school hungry? And you sit there and say, not my child, not my problem.
Yeah.
But you want to sit there and tell me that I'm the worst person on this planet because I decided I wasn't ready, or if I'll ever be ready. And I think that is why I've been very fortunate in a sense that for every bad message, there are 10 good. And those 10 good are what I remember. And if I make one person feel better about a decision they've made or something that's happened to them, or offer them a safe space, then I did the right thing.
Sharon, we've been asking all the guests on this podcast this question. What do you wish every woman knew before she was 25?
Oh my God. Do you know what? I was so in my head about being, I think we all make that promise when we're teenagers. By the time I'm 25, I'm going to have a mortgage, a white picket fence, 2 kids and be married. Don't put that timeline on yourself because we live so long now. 25 is so young. If it happens for you, it's great. If it doesn't, don't force it. You know, I'm very fortunate now that I'm with one of the most loving men that I've ever met. But it wasn't always like that. And I stayed in so many situations I shouldn't have been in because society told me by the time I'm 30, I'm off goods. I'm sold down the 30. If you look at pictures of me before I was 25 and now, we are so different, but in a good way. Don't be in a hurry to be at the finish line.
Yeah.
Because it's not always greener on the other side.
Yeah.
Like, to some people that have it, it looks great, but it's hard work. So don't be in a hurry to be at the end, whether that's romantically, career-wise, or anything else. Just, everything will happen at the right time.
I love that so much. And I think that, do you know what? I love all the work that you're doing at the moment. I think it's absolutely incredible. And we absolutely need more gobby young women who are making politics glamorous. So thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.